everyone, I'm Mindy Eggen, and I'm so excited to take an up-close look at the May 2023 release from Concord and Ninth. We're going to start off with a Bit of Paradise Turnabout Stamp and Die Set. So here we have the 6x6 Turnabout Stamp Set and Die, and we also have the alignment guide that's included in the turnabout to help you align that in your stamping positioner to get the turns needed to create the background. So first, let's take a look at the dies. Now we have 4 different leaf shapes here that you can add to your design. There is a couple small hearts and smaller flowers. And then there's also this really neat set where it creates a circle or rectangle and a frame to go with it. Now in that, you're also getting these kind of skinny ones that die cut out. I think these are really neat to save, to even add into your backgrounds or to use for your sentiments as well. So I think there's a lot of possibility there. For the sentiment on your turnabout stamp, we have lucky to have you, hello there, lovely, have a happy day, miss you, and then there's 3 elements you can add to your background to stamp onto it with that leaf shape, a solid heart, and kind of those designs. I'm going to quickly stamp out this turnabout so you can see what it looks like on white cardstock. I already have it positioned in my Misty tool along with the turnabout jig, which I have positioned with the one in the top right corner. So the first color that I'm going to start off with is a lemongrass ink, which is one of the new colors out of the Concord and Ninth color release. Now each time after I stamp, I'm going to clean off the stamp set and turn my jig. The second color is pink lemonade. My third color is juniper, and then my final color is avocado. Then once I have all my colors stamped out, it's going to be really easy to just wipe down your jig to clean off any excess ink. And then to remove the cardstock, you just kind of bend it in half and the cardstock pops right off. So it's really fun to mix and match your colors to create your background, but don't forget you can also do tone on tone. So here I have some pebble cardstock, and I'm going to ink up each of the 4 turns in pebble ink. So each time I'm going to turn the jig, but I'm not going to clean off that stamp in between. And this makes a great subtle background. So each time I just stamp and turn. Now I love using pebble on pebble, but don't forget you can also use things like juniper on juniper or briar rose with briar rose ink. Now here's a look at that background I just created with the tone on tone, and then also that background I created with the pink lemonade, juniper, lemongrass, and avocado. Now for a finished card, I have white cardstock that I stamped the turnabout on and I adhered to pebble cardstock for my base. And the colors I used are Pebble, Sorbet, Tide Pool, and Peacock. And the sentiment I have heat embossed in white onto Peacock cardstock. Now my second card, I'm actually using some scraps from that previous card. So I trimmed my panel down a little bit and I saved those strips and I'm using them on this card panel. So here I also took some of the dies from the die set and just kind of decorated around that circle where I heat embossed a sentiment in gold embossing powder. And that is the introduction to A Bit of Paradise Turnabout Stamp and Die Set. Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to Bravo Stamps and Dies. I think this set is going to be super versatile because of all the sentiments on here that can go in so many different occasions, whether it be birthday or even just congratulations, maybe on a sporting event, testing, even graduation. You could look at Mother's Day or Father's Day, even just to send a friend a card and tell them they're the best. So some of the sentiments on here are hooray, you are the best, way to go. Then we have a birthday, and you could do happy birthday or birthday queen, birthday king, great job, bravo, you did it, well done. We have a thumbs up and a number 1, and then some stripes that you can decorate the flags of your ribbon. Now, here's a closer look at that die set and some of these pieces die cut out. So we have that traditional ribbon at the top, and then there's 2 different ways to use this one. You could have the flags or banners of the ribbon go up and down, or you can have them kind of on each side of each other like these 2. That top one is from Briar Rose. This second one I did 2-tone color. So I have, I believe it's Tide Pool and maybe Honeycomb. Then we also have the word congrats that you can die cut out. And then there's images on the stamp set. So there's a crown, a heart, a star. And what I did was stamp them and then use the die to cut them out. But you can also use those dies on their own without doing any stamping. So I really love that number one and the thumbs up and the crown. I think they're super fun to decorate your ribbons with. Now on that vertical one, we also have this small circle piece that can go on the top to kind of finish that off, which I think would also look really great in maybe a gold or silver metallic cardstock. So here are those flags that I was mentioning before that you can position on top of each other, maybe having them the same length or one coming down a little bit more. And then the circle piece on the top can fit quite a few of these sentiments from the stamp set. For my first card example that I created, I have this ribbon here with the trophy. I thought that trophy was really fun and a star in the center. I used aqua sky and oceanside and honeycomb cardstock. And then I have the word congrats die cut from black cardstock and just positioned vertically on the side there. This next card is one of my favorites. So I used the Happy Rays Turnabout stamp and I stamped the rays in pink lemonade, buttercup, aqua sky, and honeysuckle. And then I flicked it with some white and gold splatters. So I think this is going to be a super versatile set and just something really fun to show your appreciation or just congratulate somebody. So that is an introduction to the Bravo stamps and dies. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the brick background. Now, this stamp set actually measures 5.5 by 5.5, and I think is really fun to do some backgrounds with and just really have some fun with your inks and cardstock. Now, I'm going to jump right into it and show you this card I created where I did pebble ink on white cardstock, which I think is just a really great subtle background to add to your cards. I used the Picked Posies dies to decorate the front, and I have those colors die cut from Aqua Sky, Oceanside, Honeycomb, Clementine, Spiced Cider, and Lemongrass. Then I just added a simple sentiment from the Just Say More die with that high down in the bottom corner. This next card that I want to show you is where I was doing some tone-on-tone stamping with that brick background. So for this one, this is actually using the Weekend Market Stamp and Die collection. And here I did Briar Rose ink on Briar Rose cardstock. This next card gets a little bit wild and crazy, but I really had fun creating it. So I inked up that brick background with a variety of ink, including dragon fruit, fig, I think there's some juniper in there, and then also smearing it with some black ink. So very mixed media and really love how that turned out. Another really fun thing you can do with this brick background is if you have any of the pop-up shops, you can stamp that brick background onto some cardstock and die cut out the front of your pop-up shop building. So really giving it that fun brick look to the background. Another thing that I didn't think of till after the video was stamping out that brick background and die cutting your words from it. So lots of great things you can do with the brick background. So that is your introduction to a brick background. Hi everyone, and welcome to the introduction to Much Love Stencils and Dies. So here we have our cover die and our stencil, which is a 3-pack. First, we'll take a look at the die. Now, this is going to create a card front for you, so it fills up an entire card front. And there's also a heart in there that you can die cut separately and add to the front of your card. Now, a closer look at the stencils. Like I said, it is 3 stencils that are going to spell out the words much love and add some really fun detail to it. Now, on these stencils, when you look really close, it's going to say at the very top there, Stencil 1, Stencil 2, or Stencil 3. And then there's also registration marks on the corners to help you align that onto an A2 size card front. So that first layer was the open letters of the word much love. The second stencil is going to add a shadow around all of those letters. And then this third stencil is going to add details to the inside of those letters. Now, before I jump into showing you how that stencil works, I'm going to show you some examples. This first one is a shaker card that I made using that panel die. So it cut out the word much love from white cardstock, and I attached it to an ink blended background using a variety of Concord and 9th inks, and then adding foam tape and some sequins to create the shaker. And this is my stenciled panel. So you can see I have these warm colors on here and then embellished it with a couple hearts from one of the other die sets in the Concord and Ninth May collection. Now I can walk you through how these stencils work, and they are super easy to line up. So I have a piece of white cardstock that's cut to 4¼ by 5½, and I just added a little bit of repositionable tape and attached that to my work surface. Then I'm taking some masking tape and just holding that stencil in place. Now I am going to be using two different shades for each color. So this first set I have is Pink Lemonade, Clementine, and Buttercup. But you could get away with just using one set of inks. I am a full set syndrome person, so I have all of the ink colors, and I love using as many as I can when available. So this first layer that I'm putting down is the stencil one, and at the very top there, about a third of the way down, I applied the Pink Lemonade ink. Now, whenever you do your ink blending, you want to make sure you're going in both directions to catch all the area of the stencil and that little lip sometimes that the stencils create. Now, my second color here that I'm blending on is Clementine. So I'm kind of doing a strip in the middle of the cardstock. And then after I do that, I'm going to blend up into that Pink Lemonade. Now, as I mentioned, you could get away with just using one color for each of the layers. It just really depends on how heavy-handed you are. If you can go really light on this first layer and then heavier on the second and third layer, you could get away with the one set of colors. Now, the last color there that I applied was Buttercup. So when I remove that masking tape, here is that first layer, which you could use on its own. Now I'm going to be putting down the second layer of the stencil. This one, I really didn't use the registration marks as much. I more or less lined it up with the words I already had ink blended down. Now the colors for this layer is going to be Sweet Pea, Spiced Cider, and Sunflower. Now once again, I'm starting at the top and I'm just doing about a third of the way down. And Sweet Pea is actually pretty intense. I was quite surprised. So I'm not going too heavy-handed, meaning I'm not applying a ton of pressure with my blending tool. Now that second layer in the middle there is going to be the Spiced Cider. And then my last color here down at the bottom is Sunflower, which I do apply a little bit more pressure because I really wanted that to stand out. Then I can remove this second layer of the stencil. Once again, you could just stop right here, but if you want to keep going, you can attach the third stencil over the top, and this is going to be adding detail into the inside of the letters. So I'm using the same colors as the second layer, which is the Sweet Pea, Spiced Cider, and Sunflower. And one thing I wanted to mention is I think that shadow layer, stencil 2, I think would look really great if you did this like on craft cardstock and did a white outline. I think would be really fun. So after I removed that third stencil, I can just twist and turn to pick that up from my work surface. And that repositionable tape just rubs right off with my fingertip. So there I have it. It is super easy to use that stencil and so many great designs that you can do. And that is the introduction to Much Love Stencils and Dies. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the introduction to Playful Pieces Stamps and Dies. So, this bundle has a mini stamp set with about 10 sentiments on here, and then the die is this cover plate die with this very kind of modern design to it. Now, what I really love about this cover plate is not only are you getting that front cover to or that front panel to put on your card fronts, but you're also getting all of those negative pieces, which I will show you in just a moment. For these sentiments, I have them stamped out here, and what they do is they line up around the curve of these rainbows. So here we have Best Day Ever, Just Say Hi, Let's Celebrate, Thanks for Everything, I Think You're Neat, and Thank You So Much. Now, there also is kind of this flower shape, kind of whimsical flower shape that also can have the sentiments stamped on it. And here we have Happy Birthday to You, You Make My Day Brighter, I'm happy that we are friends and love ya. So here is a card example I did with those sentiments in play, and you can see how I stamped that right around the curve of the rainbow. The colors I used for this is Poppy, Harbor, Sunflower, and Sorbet. Now to create this card, I die cut that front panel from those colors that I just listed. So I have all of these panels now that I can use on a future card. And I did a die cut inlay technique, and all of those pieces are popped up with foam tape. So not only am I left with all of those panels that I can use on other cards, I'm also left with all of these individual pieces that I can use, whether to do some more die cut inlay or just to kind of create some fun backgrounds. So here I pulled out some of the rainbows, which I have die cut in Midnight, Sunflower, and Sorbet. And I just lined them across the front of the card. And then I used the Hello from the Triple Step Posy Print die set. And that is the introduction to Playful Pieces Stamp and Die Set. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the introduction to Weekend Market Stamp and Die Set. So here we have this large die set that's going to be market shopping or things that you would pick up at the market, and then a smaller stamp set to add some sentiments like Happy Mother's Day. You can do some sentiments like Aunt, Sits, BFF that you can add to the tag that's included in the die set. Sentiments also include You're the Best, Thinking of You, Thanks. There is a little grape stamp set, which is going to work great on those wine bottles. And then here is a look at the dies that this set creates, which is really fun. You can see we have this bottom half of a person there. And I'm just pointing out the grapes on that stamp set that you can stamp onto the tag or your bottle of wine. But I really like how you can change up what this person is carrying. Now, a couple things I want to specifically point out on the die set is the hand and feet, which are right here. That hand kind of reminded me of a paint swoosh, so I really wanted to point that out. And then the shoe, which also creates the shoe and the sole of the shoe. Now we have a bouquet that you can kind of decorate and fill up. There is a little bow that you can add on your bouquet wrapper. And then I went ahead and die cut out these stems. Now, something Concord and Ninth is doing with these stems that I really love is they are adding kind of this circle at the end of it, which makes it super helpful for adding these small flowers. So all I did was go ahead and add a dot of liquid glue to each of those circles, and then I can add my flowers on top. Now there's two different types of small flowers on here that you can add to it. There's kind of those starburst looking ones, and then these smaller ones that kind of have, well, they kind of remind me of tulips. Now we also have a two stem part that you can add your bigger flowers to. All of these pieces plus the greenery are going to be really great for creating your bouquet, which for that wrapper, it die cut out and it looks a little funny at first, but all you need to do is fold along those dotted lines that the die provides. Now I'm going to take my greenery and my flowers and I'm going to add them inside of my bouquet wrapper. And then to seal it, I'm just going to use some liquid glue. I'm putting some on the inside of those flaps. You could also do something like double-sided tape. You want something really strong because your stems are kind of creating a little bit of dimension in there. So you want to make sure you have just a strong adhesive to hold that shut. So once I hold that down, I can then go ahead and glue on my bow, which is totally optional, but I think it is super adorable. So you can make this bouquet the focal point of your card, or you can tuck it in the hand. So it could be somebody walking along with a bouquet of flowers. You have a bag here that you can fill up with either some bread and the wine bottle or presents. You could have flowers coming out of the basket. I mean, there's really tons of options you can do with this. Now, my first card I created for this is I used the brick background and I stamped it in Briar Rose ink onto Briar Rose cardstock. And my person is carrying some flowers to take home. I have the sentiment stamp that says thank you, and that is from the Triple Step Posy print. Now here for my second card, I once again used that brick background, this time stamped in juniper ink, and I used the bouquet of flowers as my focal point. Then I just heat embossed that thank you for everything sentiment, which is also off of the Weekend Market stamp set. I have that heat embossed in white onto black cardstock. And that is the introduction to Weekend Market stamp and die set. And that concludes our closer look at the May 2023 release from Concord and Ninth, which is now available at concordandninth.com. Thank you so much for joining us.